So today with me on the panel, Amy.
Hello.
Andy and Kira.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now that we are acquainted, what was the biggest surprise this year, if there was any?
Oh, biggest surprise. Lack of HealthKit improvements. People know me. People know I love health, fitness, and we got the improvements are really good. Data around menopause, perimenopause, absolutely amazing. In a privacy-preserving way, hopefully being Apple, because we all know what happens with women's health data. Also, power zones, heart rate zones, avid cyclist, so I'm just going to make use of that everywhere I can. And yeah, that's probably biggest surprise for me.
Kira, you look like you're ready to go.
You know, I was really surprised by the mea culpa, right? The design mea culpa. And to actually call out in the keynote, hey, we fixed the corner radius because we got it wrong. You know, it takes a long time to turn the ship around to actually go like, no, we're actually going to fix all this stuff, right? You know, all these little things have been bugging people. The idea that you can launch an app 40% faster in this day and age, that no one had written that performance optimization yet, I find that amazing. I'm loving that, you know, something like Claude or OpenAI can just kind of plug in, right? You can, it's just amazing strategy, very Apple, yeah.
My biggest surprise was that there was no big surprises. Like I was expecting, because I was thinking about this new supposedly MacBook Ultra, and you know, if it's meant to be the Ultra Premium, which I get, I was like, okay, well, you can't really launch a Mac because the Pro and the Max chips are on a 6-month cadence post the new M series launch. So they'll launch the M5s in October, and then the M5 Pros and the Max will launch in March, whatever. But then if they save the MacBook Ultra for an October release, as the rumors are saying, then are they going to launch it on a MacBook or a Mac M6 or something like that? I don't know. That was the biggest kind of bummer for me. But also, yeah, I do like the fact that they are having interoperability from the get-go instead of forcing us to use foundation models. I think that was a really, really good decision on their behalf.
And on the flip side, what you were hoping for that wasn't presented this year?
Oh, there's a lot.
HealthKit. Sorry. As well as that, a better App Store Connect API. Anyone that's done any work with it knows how painful the authentication flow there is. You need to get an actual API key. You need to know the issuer. You need to know the key ID. And pretty much once you've got a key, you can do absolutely anything because it's admin privileges, and that's just horrid.
As someone who's written a Terraform provider for App Store Connect APIs, it is straight up terrible. Even the payload, even though it's the structured payload. But yeah, no. I was really hoping, because I convinced myself to buy the 128 gig MacBook Pro, because I convinced myself I need local LLMs in the future. And I really wanted the new MacBook Studio Ultra or whatever it was. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing enough, well, Apple not providing enough justification for people to buy that machine. Yeah, we're not really seeing that yet, and I might have not seen the particular video where they talked about it, but I'm not really seeing a good, this runs on the foundation on this machine, and let you run like a top tier foundation model on that machine. Hasn't been done.
Well, Apple did do a whole heap of work around MLX, and one of the videos did mention about chaining a whole heap of Macs together using Thunderbolt in order to allow for all of these larger models. Now, people like Tufts in his advanced stage will probably remember the days of the Xserves and Xgrid. Thank you, Bok. And I was looking at it and it's like, that's this all over again. Which, yay, because servers, and yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Has anything announced inspired you to implement it right away in your apps?
The new LLMs for translation. Pete Goldsmith did a post about it. I skimmed it, but basically he's saying like they do like has quite a few sub-agents and skills for particularly for the translation. I tried getting Xcode to auto-generate the strings catalog in my project with Xcode 26.5 or whatever. It sucked. But this one I'm probably going to download the beta, give it my strings catalog, which is already being translated, but I'm going to get it to do a second pass. So I think this one's a bit more fortified in terms of the translations.
Not really from me. Amy would have a lot to say.
So pretty much took one evening to get my HealthKit app going with PCC. So PCC is Personal Cloud Compute from Apple. It now exists as a language model session that you can use in iOS 27. And whereas on-device has a 4,000 token limit, the PCC has a 32,000 token limit, which means you can just do a lot more with language models and sessions. Usual caveats around it being you're sending data off the physical device, whether users are going to be comfortable with that, even though Apple's implementation is secure and verifiable. Like, it's still a bit of a grey area and people will go, yeah, no, I'm not trusting it. So if you're dealing with any sensitive data, with any health data, just give the user the option to toggle it on or off. But I have found the improvements from using it are quite substantial. And it's pretty much just switching out the session as you go.
Cool. Which framework update you think was most exciting?
Like everything is foundation models. So you've got all of the updates around profiles being in there. So just being able to switch out the way a session responds is really, really good. You've got like, okay, I'm cheating a bit with the question because you've got all of this secondary stuff to foundation models being the OpenAI framework, which allows you to develop and bring your own models to foundation models sort of wrapper, and the evaluations framework as well, which allows you to do some really amazing, really good unit testing and sort of being able to look at the reproducibility and the verifiability of all of your LLM interactions in the app.
Yeah, no particular frameworks for me, but mainly just the Xcode 27. I think it looks pretty good. I'm keen that the new, conversational panel is a thing now. And I don't have to switch between, I can switch between that and then the build progress instead of, I don't know, it's just really awkward. Just Xcode, I think, would be pretty cool.
I think I talked about it before about the idea of having a language model protocol. The idea that Apple always wants to commoditize everyone else, right? Apple wants to be special and wants everyone else not to be special, and to make it just a language model. And, you know, we can all build like a router, right? We can say, okay, this prompt is really basic, I'm going to serve it on the foundation, or this prompt is a lot, I'm going to put it into Claude. You know, I think that'll change a lot of things. I'm not seeing much talk around routers just yet. I mean, I haven't looked on Hacker News today, so there might be something great out there, but I just find that kind of stuff really amazing. You know, there's so much potential in that to say, yeah, I'm just gonna change one out, and the users don't have to know that you've found something cheaper or better, for instance.
Yep. The only sort of caveat there, and Apple has talked about this in the WW videos, is getting the user to authenticate as themselves to Claude, so you can actually do that, it is a barrier for some users, whereas foundation models doesn't have that. It just assumes and uses your iCloud account. Going on from that, one of the amazing things with foundation models is all of the open source work that they're doing this year. So they're putting a whole heap of sort of toolboxy type stuff like your routers, your transaction histories, your hydration and stuff like that up for free on GitHub. It's open source, you can look at it, you can go, hey Claude, give me an implementation of this, and start using it in your app, or just include it as an SPM package.
I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see if, because, you know, as you said, you can plug in your, like, as a developer, you can plug in your, like, Anthropic API key and whatnot. I feel like it's going to be ripe for decompiling the binary, and people are going to rip out some sort of like Claude, like Anthropic APIs, and be like, okay, well, this has got at least like $200 a month on it. I don't know. I can see that happening. People just not being secure with their compiled API keys.
Someone vibed a bit too hard.
This next one is actually more on a discussion, speculative, so to speak. What do you think is the future of iOS versus iPadOS, especially with the new resizable layouts hinted?
It depends, yeah.
Do you think it, like, maybe they might realign again, or re-overlap, or bring the overlap to be greater than it currently is? Because there is overlap, right? But they diverged them. I wouldn't say they would probably converge them again, but maybe there's going to be the bigger overlap between them. It's the best I can think of.
Well, you know, so I went to the last in-person WW before COVID, so the 2019 one, and, you know, as a joke, I asked one of the Apple developers, so this was the one where, you know, on stage it was like, oh, we're now announcing iPadOS, right? So as a joke, I asked the developer, did you go and, you know, rename all of these references to iPad? And he's like, no, of course not. It's the same code base. Of course it's the same code base. I think they can definitely merge again. I think it's the foldable phone is all but announced, at least to any developer. We all know what's coming. I think it could be really cool.
I'm going to disagree. I think that there's, like, right at that start, right at 2019, there was probably very little distinction between them. These days, there's, like, we as developers, we as users may not see the distinction, but stuff like the keyboard and pointer and focus interaction on iPad is a significant distinction from what is there on iOS. And at that level, it's like, well, these sort of diverge, like there's a divergence. Would they bring it back so that your iPhone can have the same interactions and feel? Multi-window support, sort of side by side. Is that even going to make sense on a resizable iPhone? I am not convinced, happy to be wrong, but I do not see a resizable iPhone as being something that will allow side-by-side apps.
It's interesting. I guess time will tell.
Does anyone remember the original Twitter app on iPad where you had the panels? I think I can see that coming back. That'll be a big thing.
That's standard desktop sort of behaviour.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that, but yeah.
Another more theoretical question. Probably it would be personal feeling, but I've noticed that there was much less announcement around visionOS.
I'm fine by that. Yeah, no worries.
What do you think the future of visionOS is going to be?
Oh, bring it on. Like, not everything gets to be the headline for each year. This year was foundation models and AI and dev tooling as the highlight of both the keynote and the platform State of the Union. So the fact that visionOS hasn't been as forefront doesn't mean the product is dead. Like, I've long considered Gruber to be irrelevant.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even the talk show, like, as fun as it is to be there in person at a dub and going to the talk show, it's, like, this whole idea of visionOS being dead, I don't buy into it. As a platform for consumers, it hasn't found its mark just yet. It is very niche at the moment, but I would not equate that with being dead as a platform.
Yeah, I just think it's going to go away for a couple of years and then probably come back when they can sort of bring the technology cheaper, lighter. I think there'll be like a phase where they go into the augmented glasses, whatever that may be, and then go back to the Vision Pro.
Perhaps when the AI bubble pops, all the money will go back to VR. Might make a really
VR,
good headset with that kind of money.
That's fair enough. I think we might have time for question from audience, if someone has any. Oh.
Does anyone have questions? Hopefully this doesn't go crazy.
All right. Hello. Okay. So speaking of niche platforms, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw that watchOS only is supported until Series 9, and so does it mean that watchOS will be niche now, or at least watchOS 27?
Is watchOS niche? Hardware compatibility, did it get a whole heap of updates? Sadly not. I would say we'll see hardware updates for it still alongside the September iPhone event. But as a platform, it is so much more constrained than iOS, being how the user can interact with it. Yeah, it's hard to sort of say what the future of it as a platform is, and can they or should they go in a different direction. I still love it. I still use it mainly because it just captures all of my health data and allows me to get some really amazing insights. It still does all of my timers, all of my Siri interactions, because it's just right there. I wouldn't say it's niche. I think compared to visionOS, the watch has its market in health and fitness and is very solid in that market.
I mean, no intending any puns, but we can do show of hands if it's actually relevant at all. Apple Watch, I mean. Still relevant.
I think it got tasteful updates. Like anywhere that you could use Siri on a watch, it's there, right? I think the one that was the glaring omission was the lack of Apple TV integration for Siri. I was in Marcelo's talk; it appeared on none of the product slides at all.
But TV has not been a headline for many, many years. I still love it. I use it probably the most just because it's my background music. It's all of my streaming for any video content. So it's sort of like, where can you take the platform from here? I don't, there's a lot of speculation as to what you could do, but yeah, it's all guesswork.
I feel like there's currently a growing urge for people to revert away from the screens. I think Google did announce the Whoop. I think they call it the Whoop, where it's like a watch, like a fitness tracker, but it's like the original Fitbit, where it had no screen. It does your pedometer, does your calories, or whatever it may be. I think if they're going to diverge the Apple Watch, they can probably slim it down. But I think it's kind of found its niche as a health tracker / I'm walking around a new city and looking for how to get to something. I use it for my maps all the time.
Yeah, the problem with that sort of Fitbit band is
the margins.
You're sending all your data to Google, which is a bad thing anyway. Sorry, but they've got a horrid reputation for data and killing products and locking people out. So your data will just disappear at some point. And you're also you need to pay for a subscription in order to get any insights through their rebranded Google Health, which is just the Fitbit app. So yeah.
Just for context, $25 to $40 a month US for your Whoop subscription.
Oh, so that was $25 to $40 US for the Whoop subscription.
Is it actually Whoop or is it Fitbit? They brought Whoop. Ah. Killed by Google. Sorry, I'm going to go there.
Wrap it up?
Yep.
No, we'll call it there. We're at time.
We'll go to the pub. We'll go to the
Ask questions at the pub, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very insightful, really interesting. I love that difference of opinions. That's what we were hoping for actually here. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.